Hey, everybody. I'm Chad Eckert. That's Joe Idone. This is the Preferred Lines podcast. Find this on iTunes or watch it on YouTube. Follow us on Twitter at Preferred Lines. Joe, coming off of a Memorial tournament that was amazing. How great was the Memorial?
Incredible. So many good storylines, controversial finish. We had some antics. We had rules officials. What more can you ask for?
We had a cash of a ROM ticket. Both of us had ROM, baby, and he won.
Yep, exactly. We almost cashed a couple. I got a little top 20 action as well on Norlander. Willett just barely hit, but good hit, buddy. We're moving.
Yeah. Well, enough of the Memorial. Let's move on to my favorite tournament of the year, the 3M Open. And before we go into the betting board, we've got a front nine guest for the ages, a real person.
Miss Christina Kim at the Christina Kim on Twitter decided to join me for a little one-on-one spot. Let's not waste any time. Let's get right to it. Hit it. Ladies and gentlemen, we have an awesome guest lined up for this week's Front Nine segment. We're excited. 3-time LPGA Tour winner, 3-time Solheim Cup Team USA member, and the newest member, a great personality on PGA Tour Live. We've all enjoyed it a ton. Now on the tee, welcome to the show, Christina Kim.
Hey, how's it going?
I'm doing great. How are you? How's your schedule? A little busy, I assume.
Yeah, I woke up super early this morning, made it back down to Orlando, caught a workout with my trainer, been vegging out since I try to do my best to take Mondays off. And I've got like 3 appearances today, and your appearance number 2, and you were the one that I was most concerned about making sure that I caught.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate that. Now, typically how this works is my partner Chad and I will sort of rapid fire questions. Today, unfortunately for you, you just got me, but I'm going to do the best I can. He sent me over some questions, and we'll try to get you out of here in a timely manner. But we're excited to kind of ask you a few things and hear your response.
Yeah, come at me, bro.
All right. So let's start here. The LPGA Tour is set to resume here in a few weeks. Your plan is to get back out there and start playing, correct?
Yes, I have. As soon as the lockdown started, I just said, I'm going to pretend like I'm going to have one guy in my ear, which is our commissioner, Mike Wan, saying, I messed up. We're actually starting next week. And then on the other side of my head, I had our golf course director of golf saying, I messed up. We're closing tomorrow. So I was just really using these last few months to just pretend like it was a day on the golf course. And yeah, we're starting up, last week of July, and I cannot wait to get back out to play.
Well, I want to talk to you about a new exciting venture that you've been on. I found your appearances on PGA Tour Live to be extremely energetic and insightful. Tell me a little bit about that experience and where does it take place? What do your days look like? Give us a little behind the scenes on that.
Well, it was pretty much all 4 days I was up at or around 4 o'clock, went down to the local gym, or not the local, the hotel gym, worked out, made my way over to the studio, and it was anywhere from starting at like 7:15 with like an hour's worth of like pre-stuff, all the way until, the end of play, which would be about 6:30, maybe a little bit later than that. And you'd be on for 2 hours, you'd be off for an hour, on for 2, off for 1. So it wasn't a lot of work, to be quite honest, except for that damn telestrator. I'm not an artist, so I wasn't a big fan of that. It wasn't a crazy ton of work. All the work was being done behind the scenes by everybody else. I just talked.
So you're up in Ponte Vedra. So you're basically standing in front of a monitor watching it just like we would watch it. And then are you in a booth with someone, or how does that work?
Yes. So we are at, because of everything going on with COVID right now, they're not wanting to send too many people on site and things like that, which is completely understandable. So we're at the PGA Tour Entertainment office. We have our own studio. We've got a booth. I've got another commentator, an actual analyst with me. That's basically holding my hand and stroking my hair and telling me I'm going to be okay. Right. And so we've got monitors in front of us. We have our computers in front of us. We can scan any number of statistics, follow any group, any hole. We have an idea of basically everything that's going on except for the words that are being spoken. And that's where the monitor comes in, which is really, really cool.
Very cool. Well, I'll be honest, you seem to be kind of a natural at it. Did they put you through any sort of training, or did they just kind of throw you into the fire?
No, well, so a few weeks back I played, or not played, excuse me, such a golfer. I did the commentary for the first 2 days over at the RBC
The
Heritage.
Heritage, right.
Yes. And so that was that was me dipping my toes into the water. And then, a few weeks back, Greg Hoppy, who is running the whole shindig, he contacted me and said, "Hey, how would you like to do all 4 days?" And I was like, yeah.
Right.
And so I pretty much just went from like getting my feet wet into diving down into into the deep end. And everyone is just the energy is amazing there. They're very nurturing. They're great at setting you up for what it is that you're going to be seeing next, so that you can prepare for things. Even that flyover with the telestrator, they actually set me up a lot. I just like froze every time I saw it. And it was awesome. I mean, everyone was so professional and so kind at the same time. I just felt like I was sitting there. I basically did the same thing I would do, if I was watching the PGA Tour on my own TV. This time I just didn't have my hand down my pants, basically, sitting there eating
Right.
a bunch of snacks.
Well, that's part of what I thought was so enjoyable about it is you kind of brought a different perspective. One of the things you talked about some of the lies that a player had. You brought us a little bit inside the rules book. We'll get to a little bit of that later. But here's the one thing that I've gotten some people DM me about, a little critique from some of your fellow commentators. They got to get this thing down with the cut line. Uh, it seems every week they kind of bury guys for missing the cut, and then they end up making the cut or probabilities. Is there like a stat guy in the booth that is giving you running probabilities on the cut line, or how? Like, is there a person there, a statistics guy with you guys in the booth?
There is not. For me personally, I just go based off of my own experience. And I said, the vast majority of the time, you take the cut line, you multiply it by 2, and you take 1 off. That's what it tends to be.
Right.
How the hell am I supposed to know that, there are going to be a bunch of guys that drop a few shots the last few holes? I only go based off of my experiences. So have I been wrong about cuts on the LPGA Tour? Yeah. There
Right.
is no perfect formula when it comes to, you have to look at things like strength of field. You have to look at, the difference in weather from the morning of the first round to the afternoon of the second, and then everything in between. Because, I had said during the telecast, a lot of times if you go late early, you're going to oftentimes have the most consistent golf course, as opposed to having it, be the softest first thing in the morning on Thursday, and then having it be firmer Friday afternoon than you would Thursday afternoon. So, and you have to look at who's playing in those times. You have to
Sure.
think, are these the kind of players that actually play better when they go early, late, or late, early? Like there's any number of things that you have to think about. And then
Right.
on top of that, you have to add in the human spirit, and Lord only knows that messes everything up.
Right. I know. Totally. I'm just giving you crap. They kind of,
Oh no, it's
your
all
partner
good.
there kind of buried Tiger Woods for missing his first cut at Memorial. Then he ended up making it. Well, but
That
let's
was
shift
him.
gears. I know, that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying you, I'm saying these guys, you got to get them on board. But let's shift gears to Minnesota. I want to talk to you. You have a ton of experience. The event this week is the 3M Open, but they were also supposed to host the Ryder Cup here shortly. You have a ton of experience in the Solheim Cup. Did they make the right move in canceling this event since there could be no fans?
I think they made the right decision for a myriad of reasons. First and foremost, we are not out of COVID yet.
Right.
We are not we're not post pandemic. We're in the middle of the pandemic. We are post first lockdown. And so everyone's health and safety should be for the first priority. 2, they made the right decision because you can't have a team event like that without fans.
Yeah.
It's not the same. It's not, if you've ever been to a Ryder Cup, if you've ever been to a Solheim Cup, a President's Cup, Walker Cup, Curtis Cup, even your freaking state, team, north, south,
Yeah.
whatever it is, there's something that, there's a different energy that is brought in. So when, instead of having a 12-man team and then the captains and vice captains, the crowds themselves can become truly a member of that team, depending on who it is that you're rooting for. So I think that it would take away so much from the overall experience. And it's lonely enough when you're one of 24 players on a golf course And then it's legitimately just one of 24 people on a golf course.
Right.
It's, you know, there's so many things that, you know, it sucks. There's no question of that. I just think that is the right thing to do.
Mm-hmm. So let's go back to last week for a minute. I want to talk to you about John Rahm on 16. So
Mhm.
I guess my take on it, not knowing the rules book too much, is that I didn't think he should have been penalized. I know there's kind of been some debates in there. I think you think that they made the right call there, and the tour obviously did penalize him on that. What was your opinion on the entire how things unfolded?
Well, so I had finished my coverage because I was only covering up until about 6 o'clock, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Might have been just before that. And so I had gone back to the hotel, and I was getting, you know, messages on Twitter. I was getting text
Yeah.
messages, and I was just like, what?
What happened?
Homeboy had, like, he was, you know, he started, you know, he was like, at one point he was 8 ahead of everyone else. And I'm like,
Yes.
there's no, what happened? And so I went and I said, I don't know what happened. Can someone tell me? I got a video tweeted at me. And by definition of the rules, you know, it's not, you know, they always talk about intention. There's no, you know, if you have intention of improving your
Right.
life, if you have intention of doing this, if you have intention of gaining an unfair advantage, blah, 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 blah. This is not one of those situations. It's sort of like, say, in football, let's say you
Yep.
got Aaron Rodgers throwing a Hail Mary at you, and it's, you know, just a little bit outside of your reach. And so you catch the football, and, you know, you've got, you know, an eighth of an inch of your shoe over the line.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a catch by definition of the rules?
No.
Or it's not a catch. And so the thing is, you know, he didn't intend to make any adjustments to his lie. He didn't intend for the ball to move. It's just, you know, when you've got hair, again, it's like the number of guys I've seen that have decided they're going to grow a man bun because they couldn't get their hair cut for the first couple months of quarantine. You know, when you got rough that's grown out, has not been cut since I think it was maybe the Sunday or Monday of that week.
Right.
It's getting longer. It's you know, it's unpredictable, and that's part of the reason why the course was playing so difficult
Mm-hmm.
to begin with. You know, and he, you know, if the ball is here, he was, you set up to the ball to try and, you know, get your body in the right positions, this and that. And he set his club behind the ball on the grass, and the ball moved, you know, fractionally.
Right.
Fractionally. He didn't intend to do it. It's just what happened, and that's what the rules. That's just really all that took place. Like, thankfully, at the end of the day, it didn't make any sort of it didn't really matter in terms of the
Didn't
overall
change the outcome.
outcome.
Right.
That being said, I'd be curious to know, and I'm sure there is a parallel universe somewhere off in the ether where he was notified right when it did happen, because they didn't notify him until after the round. So if they
Right.
had told him, you know, when they were able to analyze it, and they told him before he had finished, it'd be very curious to know how, you know, puckered up he would be feeling coming down the
Yeah.
18th hole, you know, with knowing that 2 less shots were going to be buffering him and Ryan Palmer.
100%. And I honestly think in his post-round interviews, he handled it very well. But at the same token, I'm wondering if he would have handled it so well if that had, you know, if he had gone from first to third in that tournament. It's just, for me, I guess is it something you think that is able to be enforced effectively and consistently for all players in the field? Or did it just come down to the fact that, you know, there's an HD camera behind his shot where, you know, 5 or 6 guys came through before that who didn't have the camera right behind their ball?
Well, you know, it is tough to say, you know,
Mm-hmm.
because we are in, you know, a golf course where we're walking, you know, at 8, 9, 10 miles sometimes. So you have a huge expanse of land, and you're not going to have a camera on every single person at every single time. It's not like, say, in a baseball field
Right.
or a, you know, football field or basketball court where you have a finite amount of space, and this is the only place where you're allowed to play. So you can have multiple cameras, and you're able to basically see everything going on. At the same time, that is part of the price of having those cameras on you, is because you are the best players in the world. Now Rahm
Mm-hmm.
is the best player in the world.
Right.
And with that comes the added responsibility. It's you know, golf is one of the most amazing sports that parallels life. You know, you can do everything right. You bomb a drive, you end up in a divot. You know,
Yeah.
you sit there, you hit a perfect shot, and then a gust of wind comes, your ball falls in the water. You hit a perfect putt, gust blows the ball away. Like, anything can happen. Or you can sit there and you can skull your approach shot. It'll hit a sprinkler head and then it'll land and go in the hole. Like, all kinds of crap happens. So, there is a price to be paid because of they're playing for a ton of money. Realistically, and I had mentioned it on my Twitter feed, when I was discussing the whole matter, when I get near a lie that I'm not comfortable with, I don't put my club behind the ball. I hover it above the ground. Like, because they're like, and thankfully no one ever said the C word regarding, the situation that took place on 16, because clearly there was no intention of John trying to cheat by any means.
Of course.
Obviously everyone knows his character. Everyone knows what he's all about. It has nothing to do with that. That being said, that C word in golf is a hell of a lot worse than the normal C word that people try not to say in regular life. And so, there are very few things in the world that matter more to a golfer than their integrity and their honor. And because of that, by the nature of the game, we're supposed to self-police ourselves. There was no intention for any sort of an advantage there.
Right.
And so it was an honest mistake. It was an infraction of the rule. It was nothing intentional. It was nothing malicious. It was simply stated. It was a mistake that inadvertently happened. And the rules are very simple. If there's an infraction, there's an infraction is an infraction. Yeah. That's all it is. It doesn't mean you're a bad person because it was an infraction of the rule. If you tried to cheat, you're a son of a bitch.
Yep.
If it was not intentional, it just happened. And then there you go. We learn from it. We move on.
Well, you spoke a lot about integrity and honor, and I know that's very important to you in the game. So I want to kind of shift gears and ask you a little bit about Bryson, some of the antics on the 15th hole, antics, so to speak. But does that kind of stuff, does it bother you to kind of watch that and arguing with rules officials? And, I think he even called out Phil at one point. Does that kind of stuff irk you a little bit?
Yes.
Okay. Enough said.
Yeah. No, I mean, my thing is, and it goes back a few weeks before when,
right.
When Bryson won with the camera guy that was, one, only doing his job, and two, didn't even catch whatever it was that took place.
They didn't show it on TV, right?
No, they didn't show it. There was no footage of it whatsoever because he was doing his job, which was keeping his eye on the ball. And so by the time he had panned back, whatever had happened already took place. And so, when Bryson sat there and said, hey, you know what, we need our image to be protected. The camera guys need to protect us. We do this, we do that. We're playing for a lot of money. There are a lot of money in endorsements, things like that. They need to help us protect our image. And I'm like, bro, you're the first person that needs to be concerned about protecting your image. And in order to do that, don't act a fool. It's very simple, and obviously, it is sports. It is high intensity. It is stressful. So yeah, obviously there are ways in which you can, you want to vent, go ahead and vent. I have no problem with venting. That being said, don't take it out on someone else. If I act a fool, I know I act a fool. Half the time, if I miss a green, I bring my club back to my caddy and say, I'm sorry. I don't sit there and say, what was that? What kind of number was that? Or this or that, I own up to what it is that I do because I act a fool all the time. Yeah. And so, what took place on 15, it was just like, it was hard to watch. I mean, it broke my heart watching it. I mean, I was, upset with what happened in regards to the ruling for a number of reasons, but even before we got to that point. When he saw that his ball was in the water, he was taking his drop. I'm like, okay, you think about it. You hit number 1 in the water, you're dropping 2, chip out 3, give yourself a number that you feel comfortable with, hit it to, 8 to 6 to 12 feet, something like that. Make the putt. You made 5. I know you wanted to make 3.
And he's in the tournament at that point.
And exactly. And then you can go, boom, birdie 16, boom, birdie 17, par 18 if you want, birdie it if you want. You're
minus
okay,
8 won it. Yeah.
Exactly. Nowhere near out of it. And that is where youth comes from. And I was talking to, I think there's a Twitter account like Bryson DeChambeau Tracker or something like that. We were kind of talking about it. And I was like, you need to tell your son, even though he's called Mr. Scientist, he needs to go back to school and take a stats class on probability. 10 was nowhere in anybody's mind,
It was an implosion.
Yeah, and then on top of that, and obviously he was very upset with the fact that his ball, he hit two identical shots that ended up on that fence, and then he basically was like, instead of just saying like, yeah, I messed up. Okay,
Hmm.
what do I do now?
He
He
knew the
was so
rules,
hung up.
right? He knew the rules.
No,
You
that
don't
was
think
the
he knew?
thing because
Okay.
no, because you have these two thick posts and then you have
Hmm.
the like skinny metal poles in between. I think he must have thought that the outside edge of the post, as in like the side that is not closest to the golf course, was the boundary, or the actual posts between the thick poles. And
Yeah.
that's just not the case. That's not the rule. The rule is very simply, you know and on top of that, it does change from week to week, and so you need to, again, this is something I always stress, is know your rules. It's like, if you got an office job, like let's say we're a clerk at a law firm, they give you, HR gives you a binder with, no personal emails sent from your business account, don't stick your finger in anybody's butt, things like that. And if you break these rules, you're subject to reprimanding, you're subject to being fired, whatever else. The reality is, yes, we've been doing this same thing since we were kids. This is our office. And so in order to do that, the rules of golf are the binder that HR in essence have sent to us. And the rules of golf are there to help us. Rules officials are not there to say, ooh, who's lurking that I can penalize. No,
Yeah.
they're there to uphold the rules of golf, and they will help you as much as they can. And so that kind of hit me on a little bit of a personal level, because I
Hmm.
know how hard all these rules officials work.
Totally.
That being said, he's very young, so give
Right.
him some time. Hopefully he'll cool off.
Mature. Yeah. So I want to kind of now shift gears to the future. That's enough about the past. I want to talk about the 3M Open a little bit. So I have I'm curious your take on sort of motivation going into an event like this for some of the top players who, you're not quite nearly the same strength of field as you were last week. Are they sort of seeing that as an opportunity and circle that on their calendar? Let me get this win. Let me get my FedEx Cup points. Or is this more an event where you may look at someone, trying to hold on to and secure their tour card, circling this event and saying, look, I got a chance this week. This is a very important event for me. From a motivation standpoint, how do you see things playing out?
Well, first and foremost, the strange thing about this year is no one is going to lose their card this year, in essence.
Okay.
Everyone, because this is such a strange year, whatever number you started on this year, you're going to keep your card for next year, as far as I can recall. So because the regular season has been cut down so short, you've only got a few events before the FedEx Cup playoffs start. And so you're going to have, whereas this tournament may not, on a regular year have as strong a field, you're not necessarily going to have, you've got a lot of guys with a lot of incentive, because
Right.
there's a ton of money available in the playoffs. It's funny money, especially when obviously these guys are making millions of dollars anyway.
Yeah.
Even that aside, you're basically playing for funny money at this point, once you get into the playoffs. So, you've got a guy like Brooks who, he has, is he playing the 3M? I didn't actually look
Yeah,
at his field. I'm
he is
sure he
playing,
is.
yeah. And
Yeah.
he's currently
Yeah.
out of the FedEx Cup playoffs actually
Yes,
too.
correct. He's like, what, 152 or something like that in the
Yeah.
FedEx playoff. And so he has to play well in order to get his way into the FedEx. And then he's got the WGC coming up. And
Hmm.
then he's going for his three-peat for the
Yeah.
PGA Championship. So there's a lot of things at stake for him. So I would say that, he is going to be coming in, fist swinging, or
Yeah.
whatever that freaking term is. Like, he's coming in, fully committed. You're going to
Right.
also have guys that have the mindset of, this isn't necessarily as strong a field as it could be. So it could basically be a cash grab.
Yeah.
Although, truth be told, almost anybody can win any given week.
Well, I was going to ask you about one of my favorite players making his return this week in Tommy Fleetwood. I'm excited to see Tommy back. How important are tournament reps week to week? Like, we saw Tiger, I guess you could say he struggled a little bit, although he played pretty well in spots. But how much different is tournament golf than just going out and sort of playing on the weekends with your friends and shooting a 64?
Well, if I'm being perfectly honest, it all depends on the individual. Like, you know, if you can sit there and say, at the end of the day, golf is just golf, and you're able to say, I'm choosing to focus on this. I'm going to focus on this swing. I'm going to focus on this shot. Then golf is just golf. If you're going to go in there saying, I have to move up X number of spots, like you're already putting yourself at a disadvantage. You know, you're giving yourself added pressure. And so it just kind of depends, you know, and the thing with Tommy is, you know, he's coming back from, you know, the lockdown in the UK, which has been a lot stricter than it had been for, you know, the vast majority of, you know, your followers here within the US. You know, there are some people obviously in the UK that follow along that can have, you know, they're like, I know exactly what he's been going through. So it is kind of hard to say. I mean, I truly don't know. It all depends on what kind of guy Tommy is. And I don't know Tommy well enough to be able to make that kind of a decision as to whether or not he's going to come out guns a-blazing or not. I would expect, what I do know of him and his personality, that he's going to be giving it his all. And his swing is so rock solid that he may have just looked like he was like cryogenically frozen for a couple of weeks and then just steps out and just boom, 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 boom.
Right. All right. So I got some quick hitters for you here, and then we'll kind of get you out of here because I know you got things to do. So just to give you a little perspective, we are a golf we try to predict what's going to happen. We're a gambling pod. We do fantasy golf, that kind of stuff. We dive a lot, probably too much, into some of the metrics and stats and stuff like that. How important are putting surfaces, the type of grass? Because we look into that a lot this week. Does it make a difference to a player, whether it's bent or Bermuda or Poa grass? Tell me about a player's perspective on the putting surfaces.
I would say first and foremost, it depends on if you're coming back from a tournament or if you're coming from home, like how different the grass is from the grass you were just putting on, just practicing on. You know, week in, week out, the guys generally have the greens rolling at around 12, sometimes 13 on the stem. So they're very, very consistent. Just like the sand in the bunkers, they're no longer hazards. It's the same sand every single week that they basically almost have, you know, they have a contract with a company that comes in 2 months in advance, puts all the sand into the bunkers. And that's one reason why they're as good as they are, the bunkers, other than the fact they have perfect technique. So it just kind of depends, you know, and I would also take a look at the player themselves and say, you know, where did they grow up? If they grew up down in the South, you know, they're more accustomed to Bermuda grass. You know, if they're, you know, along the coastline or somewhere up in the Northeast, it's going to be bent or Poana. So, you know, for me personally, as long as there's grass on the green, I don't really care.
Got it.
That being said, if you didn't grow up with, if you grew up on like bent, you're going to have a more difficult time oftentimes dealing with the grain with Bermuda.
Okay. So Chad has this thing where he has this debate in his head, and he likes to ask people, course history or recent form, which sort of side are you on there? Basically meaning, would you rather be playing well in the 2 or 3 weeks leading up to a tournament, or have played really well at this course and tournament the 2 or 3 years prior? So you're familiar with the course, or you're coming in really hot. What's more important?
I would say current form is more important to me. Personally, I think coming into a tournament, coming into form, that's why so many of these guys are having trouble. You know, like Brooks and Tiger right now, and even Rory, like he was like top 5 everything, you know, all black, all everything, you know, coming in before the lockdown. And now, you know, he's been playing well. He just hasn't been capitalizing and winning, you know, and this is the time of year where guys are, you know, escalating to peak at the majors and at the WGC. So there is some methodology to that.
So, all right, pick one. This is for you personally. Would you rather have a great ball striking week or a great putting week?
I would say a great ball striking week, because I don't really care. If you're putting for par every hole, it doesn't mean shit. So you have to give yourself opportunities to have birdies. And, you know, statistically, if you keep giving yourself 12 footers, a few are going to drop.
Right. Now, do they need to, so Jack suggested this on the broadcast. He said he's been lobbying with the USGA for 40 years about this. Do they need to roll the ball back a little bit for these guys?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. Very simple. There, you don't have great drivers of the ball the way that you used to. You were, in for the most part, either long or straight. It was very, very rare you could be both.
Right. Just curious, how many hours a week would you say a professional golfer spends practicing or on the range?
I would say minimum 25 hours, I would say, because even if you're just getting in a few putting drills before you play, and then you go and you hit balls for half an hour,
Mm-hmm.
you go out there, you play. If you're the kind of golfer that likes to play golf every day, then boom, that's 5 hours in the day. And if you're playing at least 5 days a week, that's very, very conservative. I would say, like, for me, I would say it's probably closer to like 60 hours a week.
Wow.
I'm a golf nerd. I have the best job in the world. So,
Right.
if you're able to love what you do and you do what you love, you never work a day in your life.
What we try to do every week is sort of analyze the odds boards and what are a player's chances to win. Do players pay attention to that at all? Do they have any idea if they're 20 to 1 or 50 to 1 or 100 to 1, or are they just going to play their game?
I think some are, and then really quick, going back to the previous question about if you want to be coming into form versus coming to a course you've played well in the past.
Yeah.
If you've played well at a course in the past, if you're not playing well, that could cause you to lose your mind even faster, because you should be playing. I've never not birdied this hole in the last 3 years. What the hell am I doing? So
Mm-hmm.
on a psychological level, I still think coming into form presently and more focused on what you have done more recently is far more important. I personally don't. I also, truth be told, I'm going to have a shit ton of zeros behind, whatever digit they go with in terms of my odds. So I don't really care. And, I don't care. It's all good. And secondly, I don't know if, betting in golf is still so new and so young that I know there are some players that are aware of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, for me personally, it's not something that I really pay attention to.
Got it. So who's the nicest guy on tour that you want to, if you had a choice to hang out at the pool for a day with someone, who you picking?
I would have to go with, this is going to be my hanging out at the pool foursome. So
Right.
I would have to go with Shane Lowry, because he just looks like he would be such a laugh. And he truly is just such a great guy. Max Homa, because he's from Cali, as am I. And he's just like, like a little brother that you would wake up having pissed your pants because he stuck your hand in a bowl of warm water. and then Billy Horschel, because he's so smart, he's so quick-minded, and I would have the most unbelievable conversations in the world with him. So if you can find one that does them all.
Yeah. So what about your pick a foursome to go to a party with? If you got a big banger at somebody's house and a party that they're hosting, who's going to be the life of the party and the most fun?
Ooh, I would say, we all saw how Shane celebrated after he won the Open Championship.
It looked amazing, right?
You know that he's going to be there, and he's the one that's going to bring the house down. I don't know. I would want to bring someone that you would not necessarily expect to be the life of the party, and just end up wearing, just his boxers and his shirt caught on fire and, shit like that. I'd like to think that there are a few guys out there.
Awesome. Last question. I know you're not in the industry of picking players, but I'm going to give you sort of the 4 guys at the top of the week this week, and just tell me who you think is going to win, in your opinion. So it's Brooks, DJ, Tommy, Tony Finau. Who would you pick to win?
I would say I would pick between Tommy and Tony. The only thing that Tony's got going against him right now is the fact that he had such a rough weekend.
Yeah.
He has been trending upward really, really well, though. And I feel like he's the kind of guy that would be, because he loves being at Muirfield Village. The thing with Tony is that, he had played so solidly and he played very simplistically. And then obviously he struggled over the weekend. He loves it over there at Muirfield Village. I still just think that he would have the mindset of, he can heave a sigh of relief and be like, okay, I know I'm playing great. I know I'm doing all the right things. I can take what took place at the end of the week last week and get that out of my mind. Let's freaking go.
Right.
That is the kind of guy that I think Tony is. And Tommy, he's a little bit of a wild card because, again, like, I don't know if he's the kind of guy that would think, oh man, I haven't touched a club in this long. I mean, he is hungry, and he's been starved of competitive golf for so long that I think he is just, there's no reason in my mind whatsoever that he wouldn't just come guns a-blazing and just light up DBC over there.
Thank you so much for joining us. You've done an amazing job. We will all continue to follow along at the Christina Kim on Twitter. Thank you so much again, Christina. Appreciate you.
Yeah, of course. Tell Chad he sucks.
All right, I will.
Joe, what the heck, man? I thought we were going to do this interview together.
You were out this week, man. No, it was a little awkward and nerve-wracking kind of doing that one-on-one.
In conversation, sometimes it's better if it flows, and I don't have an ego. I don't need to talk to Christina. I could just let this happen so we can have her back on, and maybe I can do the interview the next time.
Exactly. She definitely seemed down to come back on. She gave you a little surprise shout out at the end. She said that you suck.
Nice.
No, I'm just kidding.
Perfect.
But she wanted you there, man. I know it was kind of your idea to let me roll this one-on-one. We're experimenting with things, right? This is new. We're trying out different things. We're seeing what you guys like, what you don't like. But we hope you listen.
And Joe, I'm excited about this event, the 3M Open, not only because I'm a Minnesotan and it's 30 minutes up Highway 100 from me, but because I'm into these weaker fields. I like it when there's no right answer. Like, everybody's confused and scared and doesn't know. But we know all the names, Joe. So this makes me excited for a field like this. You go from the best field ever to the 3M Open field.
You should be excited. Home state. You're familiar with the course. I know you were on site there last year. That always ramps up the excitement level a little bit. It's an exciting event for me, too. I cashed probably my biggest ticket ever on golf last year. I had a couple of top tens, and I had Matthew Wolf at 110 to 1. Let's go. Right. 3M Open. Let's do this.
Oh, and he's back defending Matt Wolf. Now, before we get to Matt Wolf, let's start at the top of the board, shall we? What we call here, make the turn and crack a beer and crack open the board.
Cheers, buddy. We need to get a beer. We need to get a beer sponsor. Any of you guys out there got a brewery or anything you want to get a sponsor spot on the show?
Not just beer. How about anything?
Anything. That's what I mean.
Yeah. You got a stapler.
We'll pimp any product.
Anyway, okay. Here we go to the juiciest field. Oh wait, no. From the juiciest to not so juicy. Here we are.
Depends.
But at the tippity tip top, Dustin Johnson. He's here after being terrible, and he's still the favorite at 10 to 1. All right. There's been some movement today, but also under the 20 to 1, you have Brooks, who's also kind of off last week. He's 12, and Fleetwood Flo is back in America, getting ramped up for the next couple weeks, going to the PGA in a few weeks. He's here at 14 to 1, and then Tony Finau, the guy that collapsed, also under 20 to 1. Any interest at the top of the board, Joe?
No. Pass on DJ. Hard pass on DJ. I'd love to have something nice to say about Brooks, but his approach numbers are just off. Hitting wedges well at all. So it's just hard for me. Look, he's lost on approach 9 of the last 12 times he's teed it up that I looked. Tommy Fleetwood, just not yet. We've seen these guys come off of a layoff and struggle. I'd like to see some positive signs. I like that he's here and elected not to, play in the British Masters next week, which I originally had thought was his plan. I like that he came over early. He's playing this. He's going to ramp up a couple events into the PGA Championship. And Tony Finau, it's a price thing for Finau with me. It always is. I kind of had the feeling he was going to fold, but you can't make him 75 to 1 one week and then 14 to 1 the next and expect people to bet him.
We all know it's his putting that happened on the first round Thursday. He had the best putting round of his life, Tony Finau, and then that's why it set him up. We knew.
Well, it's also I really question his decision making, and I don't know what responsibility that lies, can be shouldered Addy there, but I think that he needs to really take a hard look at himself, and he made some terrible decisions that turned bogeys into double bogeys.
Dude, that's why I call him Doofus. Because he makes these dumb decisions. And it's like, that's costed him a lot of it.
Was stupid.
It's terrible. So don't go to the top of the board. If you're going to do that, well, you probably I don't know. I guess Finau could win. He could bomb it all over here and just decide he's got carefree attitude. Since last week he failed miserably. And he could apparently hit it 400 yards. So that could help here. So maybe Tony. But I don't know.
I would honestly probably make him, in my mind, is probably one of the favorites to win this event, but I'm not going to bet him at 14-1. I just don't feel like the value is there. But he's playing as well as anybody.
The other week.
Yeah. If you miss
it, when Bryson, we'll miss at Bryson at 12-1 if he wins. I don't really, I'm not going to sweat that.
Right.
The middles. Let's roll into the 20s. We got 3 guys. Actually, we had 2 to start the day, and then now English has made his way. It's 28-1. You have Casey at 22, defending champ Matt Wolff. 25. And then English, my guy, I like it. Harry English, Mr. Consistent at 28-1. I got a bet on him. I'm going to use that guy. I wanted to use him at the Travelers before he got COVID, and I was just thinking about it earlier. I think, actually, this is the storyline. Harris English wins this week because he's a recovering COVID guy. It's going to be great for the tour.
Great for the tour. Great for COVID recovery as well. Big move.
Okay, yeah. Will he actually win? I don't know. He hasn't won since 2013, but he did have a fall swing Harris English of a 3rd, a 4th, 5th, and a 6th in a 5-week stretch. So Harris English, like I said, was playing Mr. Consistent. Not necessarily a bomber, but not necessarily a plotter either. He's doing things in all areas, so I like Harris English at 28. I got him at 33. I love it. This could be a redemption week because he got screwed by the force of COVID. So I like Harris English in this range. You?
So I haven't bet anyone yet. The one I am considering Matt Wolff. I hit him here last year. I think that he's got.
You do have money to spend on him.
Yeah, I've kind of monitored his social media a little bit. He seems very excited about being back in Blaine,
which is hilarious. Because if you're saying that to a Minnesotan, no one's excited about going to Blaine. Like, no offense to people that live in Blaine, but like they would know that too. They would admit that. It's not like you're going to like.
Maybe it was his marketing team, but still he plays. He's actually, he is playing well, right? He's coming into this event with some form. I had a decent round 4 at the Memorial. A lot of it rides with hot putting with him, but I think some familiarity, some good vibes. We know he's a winner. So going back to a place that he's won with, I think, a stronger field last year. So coming back as the defending champion is a new role for him that he's got to step into, maybe a little extra added pressure, a little extra added media attention this week. But still, I think he can handle it. I think it's a decent number for the way he's playing. I'm not quite there yet, but I have a lot of interest in Wolff.
God, I don't want the 25 number on a win, especially knowing that he's just does have that added pressure. So I may take a harder look at a top 5 or top 10 on Wolff. And then definitely consider him on DraftKings kind of thing.
Okay.
But the reason why is because I'm in love with this 30 to 50 range, dude. Should we go there?
Go there. Let's do it.
You can find a few solid names, including the one, well, man, things have changed quickly, but Bubba's here at 33. That hasn't changed. But EVR started the day at 50, went to 40, now at 33. EVR, I stabbed it at 40. I think I got it at 40. I love it. EVR, Gopher. Also in this range, 33, Glover. You got Russell Henley. People have withdrawn also, like Todd and Connors, that just left this little thing kind of voided. And then you got Doc Redman, who's been a darling, and then Sam Burns, another one I like. Norlander, who's been a kind of a darling the last few weeks. 50 to 1 there. Harmon, Rogers, Moore, Straka. Shit, this is decent. Who do you like the best? Because I got a few names.
I think you made a good point there when you said we've had definitely some withdrawals from this tournament. I don't think it's COVID related, at least for the most part, but it does present some value when you see guys
It's
that
humid
numbers
related,
don't
Joe.
change.
It's freaking hot and humid here in Minnesota. My God, I'm sweating in my garage.
And I think a lot of these guys just need a break. But look, I'm on EVR also. I took him at 40-1. I looked at everything, and he's playing good golf. Tee to green, approach, ball striking. He's ranked in the top 5 in all 3 of those stats. 40-1. He's part of a little European tour theme on my card this week.
Oh,
we'll get more into that later.
Interesting. I kind of also like with EVR the narrative street with the Gopher ties. It's in Minnesota. He's a Golden Gopher, although he did graduate like 8 years ago, so it's not like he's a newly graduated Gopher. There is somebody down here that is a star for the Gophers that's playing here. Can't remember his name off the top of my head. Josh likes him. But anyway, okay. Dude, Burns, 40-1. That's another name that you got to watch. I know 40-1 sounds very weird for Sam Burns. Like, what are you talking about? I'm not going to bet him 40-1. But that's because the books are greedy, and that's just the way things are at the 3M Open. It's like Wolf last year. Someone's got to break out. Someone's got to get a win. And I think 40-1 is a decent number. It's still getting some return. Although, Burns loves Bermuda. Bermuda Burns. Could he become Bent Burns? Let's try it out. Let's see if he can do it. Last year, know this about Burns because I've been following him. I like him. He's a young gun. Broke his wrist playing a pickup basketball game with his neighborhood friends and kids. It's like, dude, that screwed you. It screwed him for so long. So he's been battling that. I've been waiting for him to come back, have a couple consistent showings in a row, and he's done that recently. He's doing things. Also, Golf Magazine about a year and a half ago had Cameron Champ and Joaquin Niemann on the cover with Sammy Burns. Those guys have won. Those guys have shown things. Where's Burns been? Oh, he's been playing pickup basketball, breaking his wrist. So otherwise he would be right next to them. So I think this is his moment, and he knows it. He's playing well. Definitely he did well in the workday, took the week off, got some rest last week. Grab Sammy Burns. If you can get him at 40, perfect. Let's go. Sam Burns.
Love it. You've been hot on the Burns trail the past couple weeks. I hope
I had a hot top 5 on him at
workday. Yeah, and he played really well. And when they showed him, he looks in great shape. Number one, he looks fit, he looks strong, and he was crushing the golf ball. And you could tell he's got such a nice swing, right? It's so fluid, it's powerful, it's big, it's whippy,
he's one of those guys.
It's everything.
He's just another kid. That's good.
I haven't taken him. I did at 50-1. I took a bet on Luke List. Luke List actually very surprisingly top 10 last week at the Memorial out of nowhere.
Right. Or was it out of nowhere? Because didn't he win the Corn Ferry event a couple weeks ago? I think Luke List is found
he won the Corn
right?
Ferry event down in Florida here, I believe. He also top 20'd at the Rocket Mortgage. We kind of talked about this narrative at the Rocket Mortgage where we said, look, I think this course looks like the 3M Open. Part of the reason why we were on Matt Wolf that week, but there's so many similarities in the leaderboard when you get to like Merritt and Wolf and those guys. I think if you can play well there, you can play well here. He's in good form. He's actually not putting terribly, but he had one really bad round at Memorial, but other than that, he gained like 14 strokes in the other 3 rounds combined. He's in good form, 50-1.
Luke,
put him on the card.
Weird. What's funny is that you don't know that Luke List drives the ball far, but I looked it up and something popped for me in driving distance or something where I was like, Luke List is in here? So who knows? Another bomber that is in this range that's not getting any movement so far because names have moved down because people are betting on names and they're not betting on this guy. His name is Bubba Watson at 33-1, and I like him. You know why? Because he's paired with Paul Casey and Pat Perez. I think
Does he like them?
The group. Yeah, he's Pat Perez. Such a fun guy. I'd love to have a beer with Pat Perez.
So and that's like plus pairing. 2. Oh, is he? That's like plus 2 strokes gain there if he likes the pairing in Bubba World.
Correct. Yes. So he loves that. He also loves to bomb it. And this is bomber narrative, bomber street, bomber track, bombs away Bubba. So maybe he'll do that at 33-1. I like it because he is an actual winner on tour. He's won like 10 times versus Finau and Fleetwood at 14-1 who've never won. English, Glover, Redmond, EVR, Henley, all losers.
Yeah.
But then you have Bubba.
List.
Who's a winner. Although he hasn't won since 2018 at the Travelers, so he's kind of due. And what's happening to him is that he's playing well, but his putter's letting him down. And that's odd because if his putter catches fire, he catches the top 10. And that's what happened the last time he had like a positive strokes putting outing. He was T7. Maybe he found something last week at T32. He gained over 8 almost 8 strokes on approach, Bubba, striping it, but missing putts, probably frustrated coming to an easy course. We can birdie everything. You know, what is that? It'd be at 16 under at some point this week. We know this, Bubba. Take a piece of him. He didn't even play last year, so we don't know if this is a Bubba track. People like Bubba on Bubba tracks. I don't know. Based on how Wolf and Bryson played last year, we could assume this could be a Bubba track. And at 33-1, sign me up. I will find out.
You know what I like about Bubba? He is not putting great, but he seems to be really enjoying himself.
Bubba was on Lake Minnetonka watching the sunset with his feet up on the boat.
Yeah, he's got his family. He's got the kids in the RV. Everyone's in the back. He's having a good time. He's not putting well, but he seems to be in good spirits.
Okay, and I mean, you could try out Lucas Glover, but 33 is a little high for someone who hasn't won since 2011 and more likely to miss the cut than win. But at the same time, he has been consistent. Lucas Glover.
Yes. What about Sepp Straka? You like my guy Sepp?
I don't. I'm not. I do, but I don't because he's been too good. So he's the type of guy that's the candle has burnt, and we don't know how much wax is left, but it's gonna run out. He is not Tiger Woods, just like Norlander in this range. These guys, they will hit the wall. I mean, I play golf. I can't play golf good forever. All of a sudden, I'm like starting to think about how good I'm playing, and then I suck.
3-4 weeks
I'm off
is
those
like
guys.
max prime territory for me. Anything beyond that, I'm struggling.
What about the long shots, Joe, your favorite range? And I have a few names, but enlighten us with who you like so far looking at this board.
Okay, so let me start with Max Homa. I took him at 80-1. He burned some people last week pretty bad with a miscut there. Unfortunately, or actually fortunately, it wasn't me, so I don't mind hopping on the Max Homa train this week. He is last 24 events. He's third in tee to green. He's third in ball striking. He is fourth in approach of guys ranked in this field. He seems to think to himself that it's close. I saw his tweet where he said, "The game is close, working too hard to not see the breakthrough soon." This is a little bit of a weaker field, a good opportunity, I think, for Max Homa. It is a sort of when you look at the top of the leaderboard, it is a tee to green type players course. When you look last year at Morikawa and Wolf and Bryson, he kind of fits that narrative for me. I think 80-1 is a very, very fair number in this field. I have also taken at the same number, I'm feeling the burned.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm taking Wiesberger. Look, he played like shit last week. I don't care. He is in terms of the OWGR, he is the 6th ranked player in this field.
But he's 80-1?
He's like the 35th guy down on your odds board rankings. So I think talent level, he had 3 wins last year. I think coming over, playing your first event, playing that ridiculously tough course was a tough sort of environment for him to be introduced to the PGA Tour season. Sure. A little bit of an easier course this week, better settings. He's a hell of a player. 80-1, I got burned. And then 100-1 before I leave the long shot range, I took Matthias Schwab, another European Tour player on my card.
Wow.
Kind of a interesting pick here, more of a gut play, and some of my European Tour guru friends recommended him. So I took him 100-1.
Sweet. I know nothing about my Matthias Schwab other than I've played him a couple times on Euro DFS, but I don't know. I don't dabble much in Euro watching or following. So who knows? But they're probably bad numbers. Like 80-1 on Bernd Wiesberger is probably bad, but his name's Bernd.
Is a bad number.
Yeah. So then in the Matthias Schwab, they're not picking these people, the public. Hey, look at our pinned tweet on Preferred Lines. Mike Miller talking about the odds and what they are the books want you to bet these numbers. That's all it is. It's not how much they think this guy's going to win.
Yeah.
Or, whatever. Anyway, my long shots, I got a lot. I like Johnny Vegas, 66-1. He's had some decent rounds. He can put it all together maybe on this easy course, and he's sneaky long off the tee on a bomber track. So maybe I like Johnny Vegas, 66-1. Siwoo Kim coming together on paper at 66-1. We talked to Ben Coley a couple weeks ago, and he said Siwoo Kim, maybe he's not hurt. He showed up.
He's showing signs.
Yeah, so whatever. I got a Siwoo Kim bet at 66 in this field, sure. He's a winner. I am throwing $1 on Christopher Ace Ventura. Talented kid. Probably
Love
should
it.
be more like 100 to 1. I get it. I listened to Mayo and Feimer today, and they ripped this Ace Ventura pick. At the same time, I don't mind then paying 66. I don't care. I'll do it if I think Ace has the potential to win, which I do. Finished T8 on a Corn Ferry event last year. Ventura shot all rounds in the 60s. This event is basically a glorified Corn Ferry event.
Mm-hmm.
Culp, someone who uses on Fantasy National, Josh Culp, a friend of ours, a Minnesotan too, first subscriber of our YouTube page. He uses percent of rounds gained on Fantasy National, and Ventura was 4 for 4. He's 100%. It's the only one in the field. It's 4 for 4, 100%. Or, it's shitty because it was the Rocket Mortgage field, but he gained 100% of the rounds total in that field. So that's something that makes me feel confident that, oh, wow, this is a Rocket Mortgage senior, junior event. It's the same thing. So maybe Ventura will show up here and put together 4 rounds. He can just make the cut on draft.
Maybe we go back-to-back Oklahoma State Cowboys.
Okay. Is that
narrative for you? You like narratives? Yeah, he played with Wolf and Hovland. He was the third man on the team there.
Oh, yeah. And, okay, Wyndham Clark, guy I like. Guy I've won a GPP on DraftKings with, somebody that I've just been following and always just have a little special spot in my heart for this bomber who's actually a decent putter. And it's been super – dude, he's been good. He's had good showings. In February, he was T18 at Pebble, and he finished T17 at Genesis and T11 at Honda. This is an event that he could actually come in, put some rounds together, and win at 80 to 1. I really, truly think Wyndham Clark can win. He is good. He's good.
He's very good. He is probably the most undervalued in terms of DraftKings and odds board price of this young group of players that I think is very, very good. He's close. He played very well here as well.
Exactly.
I think he had a water ball or some sort of OB down the stretch that really
I remember,
cost
dude.
him,
I loved it.
But he was
close.
He
does the thing that a public golfer does. He lets go of the club, and it's just a shank. And the driver went flying, and then 3 holes later, he did it again on a par 3. So this guy's an everyman, Wyndham Clark. And his mom died of cancer in 2013, and then he just kept going pro and just has been charging since. This is a guy to get behind. And maybe not a winning bet at 80 to 1. Maybe you just go with the top 10, top 20, because I've been loving those. So I'm definitely going to do that on Wyndham Clark. I'm going to probably do that on Tringali because we know Tringali can't effing win. He's never effing won. So maybe at 125, you don't pick him to win. But Cameron Tringali, he's picked up the club head speed. We know that. There's a story written about that. Maybe he'll just go out here and he'll just hit the ball as hard as he can. Drive it all over the place in this power track. So I like Tringali. Cameron Davis, Harry Higgs. Harry Higgs is a sneaky bomber at 150 to 1. I wouldn't be shocked if Harry Higgs won.
I looked at his odds. I really did. I think he might be a good top 10, top 20 play.
Okay. And then again, with this field and this weirdness and how weak it is, go with some guys at the lower end that are top 20 bets or top 10 bets, and you still get 10 to 1 on these people.
Yeah. I've got one for you. I'm not sure his top 20 yet because I haven't seen those odds come out of my book, but he's 350 to 1, and it's Chris Baker. Okay. Baker, birdie maker, I say.
Ooh, I like it.
This kid gets hot, man. And when he does, he can shoot 8-9 under in a round. He plays really well at, birdie fest type courses. 150 to 1 is a big number. He's put together some solid Corn Ferry Tour results within the past 6 months. He gets his opportunity here at a course with a weaker field that's wide open where he can kind of bomb it with negligible rough. We'll see.
There will be no rough. This is going to be a murder fest compared to last week. Well, shall we recap our preferred plays of the week, Joe? Do you want to give your plays, or do you want to wait and post them on Twitter?
I'll give you what I got right now. So starting at give me 1 second here.
So if you want to follow us on Twitter, I'm at @DinaRealChi, and Joe is at Tour Picks. And those accounts, we produce our picks. We show everything we do for free because we don't care. We don't charge you anything. This is just for fun. We tweet other stuff too. I got stats going. We do, we're open our DMs. You can ask us questions. You can just pick our brain. Why did you pick Harris English, you fool? Things like that.
Yeah, send us all your mean tweets when our guys miss the cut on a Friday afternoon.
Troll
All
the
right,
shit
but
out of
here's my picks that I got so far. EVR at 40-1. I got Luke List at 50-1. I have at 80-1. I have I'm Feeling the Burned. I've also taken Max Homa. I have bet Matthias Schwab at 100-1, and I like Chris Baker, birdie maker. He's going to top 20.
Your card is.
I know. No, I think I'm going to take Wolf just to get a guy up there.
That's just.
But sometimes those are my best cards. We'll see.
Especially with this field and this week and this weirdness. So go for it. I'm also on EVR. Actually, your card looks great because EVR is at the head of it. And that's who I like too. It's my biggest bet of the week is actually on EVR at the moment. And my second biggest is on Harris English. Then I like Bubba at 33. I like Sammy Burns, 40. Vegas, 66. Wyndham Clark at 80. And Chucka Shekel at Tringali at 125-1.
I think you've either talked me into Burns or who was the other one at 80? Clark. Yeah. Which one of those would you take? Give me one.
Honestly, Burns is way closer to winning than Clark is. That's why he's half the odds.
Mark it
you
down.
You go Clark top 20 or top 10, absolutely. Christina Kim, thank you for your contribution to this week's program. I'm excited to listen to that. Anything new or should we be done? I think I lost you. All right, whatever. He's gone. It's the end of the pod this week. Thanks for watching. Follow us on Twitter at Preferred Lines. Good luck this week, everybody. Let's cash some mega profit. Bye-bye.